Welcome, one and all, to the January 20th edition of the Signals from Mars live stream. I am joined by Jeremy in the UK, over here, and Johan in Sweden. I look like a priest or something, kind of doing some religious shit here. Anyway, we have Rob Rowe in the chat. Hello, Rob. Great to see you here. I hope you're doing well, sir. We've got a few topics to talk about today. We've been kind of throwing ideas back and forth here. Jeremy, as always, is a fountain of inspiration with different topics. There's a few that he's sent, but right off the bat, let's comment on the No Playback Festival. A festival that's coming up in Germany where they're not going to let any band use any sort of backing tracks. So this means no Kiss, no Def Leppard, no, by the time the festival happens, maybe no Pantera. Jeremy, you brought it up. What's your idea on this?
Yeah, I've got a sort of a mixed reaction to it, really. I think that I fully understand why they've done it. There's a lot of call out there for bands to play live, and to play in the raw, and let's hear how they can actually play live. But I also understand that a lot of bands want to put on a proper show and make their sound quality, the highest they can do. People are paying top dollar for concerts these days, and they want to hear a good show. So, I'm a little bit on the fence, really. If I personally want to go to a show, if I see a local band in a pub or whatever, I expect to see them live, because obviously they're not going to be able to put on special effects or whatever and backing tracks and all that sort of stuff. But if I'm seeing a band in a theater or a big arena where they've got to fill the sound and they've got to project themselves, then I expect the fact that I'm going to hear some backing tracks. So I do sort of, I'm quite ambivalent about it, but I fully understand why they've done it. And it's up to the punter, really, what they want. We'll see whether more fans go to that sort of show or whether they don't care.
Good point. Johan, what do you think?
I think it's a fun idea, and I fully understand why they do it. I mean, the latest 10 or so years at Sweden Rock or any other concert, you can hear the backtrack. We who are people who are used to go to concerts, we hear and we see, and we know what we hear and see. But like a band like Beast in Black, for example, that we had on the Patreon page this week. I saw them at Sweden Rock this year. It's a great band, but I mean, if you see them live, to be honest, 30% is pre-recorded and they play at it. So I fully understand the meaning of this festival, and I mean, people do what they want, but I like the idea. It's fun. It's not a little bit nerdy. It's a big, it's something for us to discuss at this forum. But I don't think the big masses won't care about it. But I think it's fun. And what a great, in these days, to find something new. This is good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brad, just joining us now. The No Playback Festival. What's your thoughts on this? It's a festival that's going to be taking place in Germany. where no backing tracks, no lip syncing, none of that will be allowed. The bands have to be 100% live.
I love it. I think it's awesome. So good for them. I hope they stick to it. I think music should be live. I mean, yeah, if you got to enhance things here and there, whatever. But live music is the best. So
Yeah,
and I know Sanhedrin. They're on the marquee there, right?
Are they? Are they playing that festival?
On the list? Come on, Jeremy, help me out here. You're the big Sanhedrin.
I don't know if they're playing there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I saw them on the list. Oh well, but I do have to say I listened to their album today and I really liked it. So thank you, Jeremy, for suggesting that. Great shout out for those guys. Yeah, good rock.
All right, let me see this.
Let's see. I know Raven's on the bill. Like they could possibly play with a click anyway. Who else is on the bill? Let's see.
I'm trying to pull this up and my browser keeps crashing on me.
Oh, browsers. You got to love them. No playback.
All right, I got it. So, Ross the Boss, Raven, Vicious Rumors, Holy Moses, Traitor, Crystal Viper, Sanhedrin, Contradiction, for the last time, Active Creation, Rosette, no idea if I'm saying that right because I can't make out the letters, Savage Existence, Tarchon Fist, and Hell Patrol. So,
Judas Priest tribute band.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be
awesome. What about these bands and their logos that you can't read? There's only a couple in this one.
Yeah, well, usually those are usually black metal bands that do that. But
Savage Existence, wow. Yeah, that's a fiasco there. Okay.
Hello to Bill Elam in the chat. So this is my take on it. As someone who has played in bands over the years, I get the whole thing of playing live, why some people want this. I think there is a fine line, though, between entertainment and, needing to prove how much of a musician you are. I don't know if to a point, I don't know if you'd consider this gatekeeping, if you will. But my whole thing here is, there are certain bands that I get need certain assistance. I don't like a band. When I see a band live, I don't want to hear the album. I don't want to hear it sound exactly like the album. I want to hear mistakes. I want to hear things that don't go right. But at the same time, I've played with bands and have and had sounds that I've triggered while I was playing. So
you'd love Yngwie then, because there's lots of mistakes in live, and none of it sounds planned.
But that's that's the whole thing. That's what it kind of comes back to, in my opinion. Do you want to go see a show where the singer shouldn't be anywhere? Well, let me put it to you this way. Perfect example. We've had Chris from Decibel Geek on here talk about this several times. Paul Stanley, they decided to play Making Love live in Japan, and it sounded like absolute shit because they didn't pre-record the vocals. So once they went back to the pre-recorded vocals on the other tracks, then he finally sounded good. Do you want to spend $100, €100, go to a show, and then have a singer that just sounds totally horrible?
No, that's why they shouldn't perform if they're awful. But
okay, but you still
I've heard Don Dokken talk about this, why he still tours. I mean, he's under no illusion that he can still sing.
Right.
And if you want to, as long as you go in knowing that's what you're going to get, then fine. I would much rather that. Actually, I'd much rather Don get healthy than go out there and look like he's about to die and sound like he's about to die. I love those guys, man. I don't want it recorded. I want the band to either be good or not play.
So you would prefer to see those songs die forever than ever hear them live again?
Well, somebody will play them.
Who?
George Lynch will play those Dawkins songs.
But George, all right, so George and
I don't know how many Kiss tribute bands there are. There's plenty of them.
All right, but other bands that aren't Kiss, that aren't Dokken, bands that were, that big, do you want? I'm trying to think of an example.
Give me an example, then I'll weigh in. Okay, let's go Deep Purple. They're old, and I doubt they're using any backing tracks, and Ian Gillan ain't what he used to be. I know somebody here's seen him recently, haven't they? Anybody? Jeremy, haven't you seen Deep Purple?
It's quite a while since I last saw them, probably more than 10 years ago, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But what I was going to chip in just with something, because the problem is that we don't know how much of it is live and how much of it is assisted, and that's the big problem. Right. I mean, you just mentioned, Brad, that you sort of you're assuming that some bands don't do it and others do, and that sort of thing, and we really need to know which bands are, because I want to know when I'm seeing a band live whether it's authentic. If I go and see Kiss live, which I did a couple of 2 or 3 times, now I'm thinking I probably didn't see a live band just playing live, because we now know that they were performing along to backing tracks, and I want to know whether all the other bands that I've seen were they actually live.
Well, perfect example, Def Leppard. How many times have you seen Def Leppard?
Yeah, well, at least twice, 3 times, maybe.
Okay.
They claim, by the way, they use no backing tracks. I've heard several members of the band.
But they definitely do, because I've been to their show and I know that it sounds too perfect to be live.
So to me, that's worse. I mean, if you're not going to say, yeah, we got help, and be honest about it, as Jeremy's talking about, then I mean, to claim that you're all 100% live and you're not, that's messed up.
Def Leppard has been using backing tapes since Hysteria.
Right.
Think about when that came out. Okay. So they've always used tracks for the backing vocals, because there's no way that Joe Elliott, who has a hard enough time singing on his own, is doing those 6 layered vocals behind him that are on the album. Because you see Def Leppard live, and those choruses are exactly the same as they are on the albums. So, Billy,
I
just
want to chip in here that if a band uses backing tracks like Def Leppard, I can like backing tracks because they do it good. But if a band do it like any random power metal act, they doing it bad. I mean, Def Leppard, it sounds like Def Leppard. It's you know what I mean. It's in the sound, but if you go to a festival at Sweden Rock, like Sweden Rock, and you hear those random power metal acts, you can absolutely hear it's very significant that it's backing tracks, because there's no presence at the stage for a keyboard or whatever. But so I'm not against backing tracks, but if they use it professional, hey, do it.
Well, to your point, to having people off stage, Def Leppard has Steve Harris's tech playing keyboards off stage. There's for years they've talked about different people playing guitar for Kiss off stage while Paul Stanley is jumping around and doing stuff like that. And there are more bands like that.
That's a whole nother discussion, though, about these bands who have toured with people playing instruments off stage. I'm not a fan of that at all. I want everybody out there. Bring them out. I've been to shows where they'll bring out the guitar tech and say, "Hey, this is our guitar tech. He's going to play on this song with us."
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
What about Robert Mason or Whitfield Crane of Ugly Kid Joe doing full Ozzy concerts as Ozzy?
Yeah. I'm
So
bring 'em out.
think honestly, I think that's worse than running tapes.
I agree.
Because if you're running tapes and yes, I get that Paul Stanley's voice is absolute shit without it, unfortunately. But like with Def Leppard, for example, it's a big show. It's a big production. So again, I don't want it to sound exactly like the album, but I get why they do that with the backing tracks. Now, a band like Santa Cruz that we talked about a few weeks ago, the singer gets caught not singing, and then he comes out and he says, "Oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not really lip syncing because I'm singing and I have an octave above and an octave below that's recorded, and I sing to that." I'm like, what are you talking about? You can literally shut your mouth and just do the show with those tracks going. That's asinine. That to me is worse. Well, my biggest issue with Kiss doing it is saying that they're not doing it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you get caught, say it. I'll say it a million times. I saw fucking Dragon Force, the masters of the million note solos, not playing on stage. It was all recorded. So like as you were saying, Johan, the song had finished and they were still playing their instruments. So that's
I think most of the big bands now do it. So I think they should just all fess up and say we use enhancements. It enhances what you watch. You're paying a lot of money for it, so we want it to sound great, and that's fine. If we know about it, we'll still go and see them live. They're still playing along to it, and you're hearing all the great songs that you want to hear. You're having a great night out. It's fine.
Do you honestly think that Metallica is?
Yeah. They do enhancements. I've seen Metallica several times, and I would say that they use enhancements. Yeah.
Okay. Because wouldn't you think the first thing they would fix is Lars's drumming?
Yeah, they might do, but what I'm saying is that they do some sort of enhancements to make it sound better.
Like what? What do you think they do?
I think probably they play along to guitar tracks a little bit. They probably maybe just that, but there's definitely something. There's definitely something there. Okay. It's not just them. It's not just those guys on stage that night playing the music. I can guarantee it.
Okay. I will play devil's advocate with that, and I will tell you why.
Okay.
Okay. Sad but true. The studio version has 5 guitar parts going. The live version, whenever you hear them play it live, there's a lot that's missing in that song.
Okay.
Being one of their big hits, if they were to fill a song out, that would be the one.
The reason why I say it was that I saw them in the round. So I saw them where they were not playing together. You know, they were playing all in different parts of the
Right.
stage, and they weren't looking at each other, and they weren't connecting with each other, and yet the songs were perfect. And I felt then that there was something not quite right, and maybe that's what drove what I just said. You know, in terms of thinking that they used some backing.
I will tell you why I think that they were probably still playing live.
Okay.
Come on, Jeremy's going to get this out of your mouth. Come on.
All right, Anthony, we can see you now.
Hey, Anthony.
At the wrong angle.
Can I take a second?
That's
I got to say hi to Bob. I see Bob's in the chat. So, Bob Rowe.
Yeah.
Man, good to see you, dude. Love you, brother.
So here's the thing, Jeremy. This is why I do think that even when they're in the round, you play those songs so much that after a while you just get so used to it. And I'll tell you this, when I was doing the Misfits tribute shows, before those shows, we were doing the entire set list 3 or 4 times straight. And those are a bunch of nobodies that are up in the hills in Spain somewhere. A band like Metallica that only has to play music, has their own studio, can rent an airplane hangar or an arena to do these shows. They're probably practicing that set list, or the bulk of the set list, for months before they even get out there. So, and then once they get to where you are, they're like, we can't make this look bad, because if not, Jeremy's going to go out and tell everyone that we were cheating. So I think they purposely make sure that download was in the middle, so that, you know, or download they couldn't have done in the round. But
I'm going to believe you.
I just think some of these bands, and this is why bands like Kiss and Ozzy and all these just play the same songs over and over again, because you play these songs so damn much that you can literally play them with your eyes closed. You know, that's the other thing with Metallica is, since they change shit up so often, I would think that it would lean more towards they don't do it. And also, if you check out any of the live recordings they put up online, there's a whole hell of a lot of mistakes in there. So, and a lot of James being off key singing. So, either way, thank you, Jeremy, for the topic, because this is as usual, we evolve, we take it in other directions. And people that are listening to this later on, give us feedback. Let us know. What do you prefer? Do you want bands to tell you, hey, you're coming tonight because because we want to make the show better, we're going to be using enhancements? Do you want to hear that? Or under no circumstances do you want them to do anything outside of play live? Let us know. Next topic that Jeremy brought up was actually, you brought up 2 more. Since we're talking about Metallica, real quickly here, Screaming Suicide. Did you guys all get to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Johan, who's been the most critical of the band, what do you think of the track? Are you still liking this track? How do you feel in comparison to the Lux Eterna track? Is it as good? Is it better? Is it worse? What do you think?
I think it's better.
Okay.
I really like this track. It's I listened to it perhaps 5 times today,
Okay.
and yeah, it's I mean, wow, classic, good heavy metal. I mean, I really like it, and as Ed said in the Patreon page. It's sounds like it's so hard to me. I think in Swedish, but I want to say it in English. But Hardwired to Destruct, that album.
Right.
This is the
follow-up, what comes after.
Yeah, but with better songs and more simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely more simple. It's kind of like, it's good old heavy metal, this song I really like, better than the last one, and the last one was good. So yeah, looking forward to the album and to the concert this summer, which I bought tickets to today.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah.
Brad, what do you think of the track?
I like it. I like it a lot. And as you know, I'm not a big Metallica fan, not because I don't like them. It's just I don't know why. I just felt like it was always being forced down my throat. So I like it. I like both singles. I can't say I like one better than the other at this point, but I'm definitely this. Who knows? This might be the first Metallica album I buy.
Yeah. There you go. Jeremy, your thoughts on the track?
Yeah, well, I actually pre-ordered the album just before Christmas, so I was glad that I liked the tracks, because otherwise I was going to be feeling a little bit foolish that I pre-ordered it. I mean, this new one I think is very much like Hardwired, so I think that it follows on from that album really well. I really love the riff on it. I think it's a little bit different to Hardwired, whereas the main sort of thrust of the song is similar. Obviously it's not promoting suicide. We should mention that it's promoting people not to do not to take suicide. So that's one thing we should mention. But I really like it. It also mentions cyanide in it, so it's kind of got the Suicide and Cyanide, which were on the Death Magnetic album. So it's almost got that sort of Death Magnetic feel to it as well. I like both of the tracks that have been released. The first one was very much like Diamond Head, and we know that this is supposed to be an album that goes back into the sort of the history, and the sort of is a bit of looking back and the formative years as well. I think it's thrash metal, but it's less thrash. It's more sort of classic rock style as well, which I think Johan just mentioned. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. I think both tracks are really good, and it made me want to listen to them several times, and that's not always the case with Metallica. Sometimes you hear them and then you think, oh, I'll put that down for a while and I won't listen to it for a little while. But I actually did play this track 3 times.
Yeah, interesting point that Johan brought up is that the songs are shorter and to the point. Where I think, especially with Hardwired, there were a lot of songs that turned me off because they just felt like they went on forever. Like there was no need for extended solos or extended things that just prolong something that would have been great at like 4 or 5 minutes. The first song, Lux Eterna, was 3 minutes. This one is 5 minutes long. There's hope in the world that maybe somewhere.
I know where this is going.
Somewhere Rod Smallwood and Steve Harris are paying attention.
That's exactly where it's going.
And they're thinking, hey, what? You mean we can release some Iron Maiden songs that are 4 and 5 minutes long and just kind of to the point?
I got to tell you something. It was, I think it was the day before yesterday when we went skiing on the way back. Senjutsu came, the song Senjutsu came on. And I'm like, holy crap, this is 8 minutes of the same thing over and over and over and over. And even the guitar solos were like unmemorable. And I liked the song. And I thought, God, if this lasted only 4 or 5 minutes tops, it would actually be a great song. But 8 minutes is ridiculous.
There's a lot of that album and a lot of Hardwired that I feel that way. I think Hardwired, for example, the first 6 songs are really good.
Yeah.
And then once you get past Halo on Fire, I think it's called. I think after you get past that song, like everything else is just kind of too long and just kind of not interesting enough for me personally. I know that there are people that absolutely love it and feel the opposite of what I do with Death Magnetic. I think Death Magnetic, if the sound wasn't brick walled, I think a lot more people would love it. I think if that album had the treatment that these new songs have sonically, I think people would instantly throw that album up there with, the first 4 albums. But is what it is. Late in the game, a lot of people at this point just go out, and even with the new songs, I've already been reading all types of hate online for them. But whatever. If you don't like this, there's a million other extreme metal songs that you can listen to with 500 beats per minute that you can enjoy. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right. Next point here. We've been reading the last few months at this point in time, this whole shitstorm that's been going on with Journey, with everything that's been going back and forth between Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean. They've have management now. They were going to bring back Greg Raleigh. Then for like 2 days there, it seemed like they were going to bring back Steve Perry. Then, there's this whole big thing that's been going on with them specifically. But what do you guys think about bands that air their dirty laundry in the press as opposed to doing it behind closed doors? Brad, what's your opinion on this? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you want to know all these, behind the scene meeting type things that historically you never found out about? Do you wish that you no longer heard, that you weren't up to speed with all this stuff? Or are you cool with finding out, about people's wives and things like that?
I'm okay not knowing. I kind of, bet later when you read the book, then it's kind of cool to find out all these things that were going on.
Right.
I mean, it's like a good example of this is KK Downing in his book and all the problems with him and Glenn. It's like, does this make me feel interested or good about the band? No, not really. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me feel a little bit worse about the band. Journey, I don't know. Well, I think I've talked way too much about Journey on this wonderful show. Not this one today, but other previous ones. So I'm gonna lay out there. But yeah, yeah. Come on, guys.
Okay, Johan, what do you think? Do you want to know all these details? Like Brad said, when you read some of this stuff in the books, does it make you? Does it? I don't know if like a band less, but does it make you question people as human beings that maybe they aren't good people?
Oh, I would like to hear Brad's opinion about Journey, because I probably must have missed it. But to be honest, to hear what people in their 60s and 70s are arguing about is not interesting for me. I've seen the headlines and I don't click on it. I don't read it. But that's a strange thing, perhaps. But I like to hear what happened in the late 70s and the 80s,
Right.
because those times are more mystical. But what they do now, no. But what they did before, yes. Right. That's probably a strange thing to say, but I think a lot of people in this hard rock and metal community agree with me. Yeah,
I think that there's more people on your side with that than you think, because with that time period, we didn't have all the information that we have today. So there's a lot of urban legends, there's a lot of mystique to what happened, different tours, different songs, different things in general about these bands that we don't know about, that we read. Figure this: when we got magazines back in the day, most of those stories were already 2 to 3 months old. So between they were written up, between when they were approved, between when they were printed. So in the summer, when you were hearing about a specific story, yeah, that had happened at the beginning of the year around Christmas, So there's a lot of time there that you didn't know anything about. And maybe there was 1 or 2 stories that you'd heard about. But then all of a sudden now it's different. We can find out what the artist is doing every second of the day. And on top of it, if it's them crapping on each other, then it's kind of, it can diminish, I think, the way that you look at these people. Jeremy, you were the catalyst for this topic as well. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it diminishes the legacy of a band, really. I mean, take the Journey example, and Brad's mentioned Judas Priest as well, which is a really good example. I mean, it's really tarnishing the brand. Journey are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, AOR bands going. Everybody's heard Journey songs. I still love to listen to them. Neil Schon's a fantastic guitarist, and the intricacies of the argument. You can't take sides really, because they both seem to have arguments on each side. I mean, I've heard that Neil Schon and Jonathan Cain's been arguing about that. Neil Schon's arguing that Jonathan Cain doesn't, have the rights to the band or whatever. And, obviously his wife's a real Trump supporter, and he's got a beef about that as well. And, there's various other arguments that are going on within the arguments. And, the same with KK. You can see why, you would take KK's side, but you can also see why you would take the other members of Judas Priest and the management, because he wrote the 2 letters. And at the end of the day, it's really rubbing the band into the dirt, and it's not putting the band's best motives forward. I mean,
Right.
all we really want is the music. We don't want all this crap that's attached to it. I mean, we've heard it with Guns N' Roses before in the past, and various other bands, and often it splits up bands, and often the music goes downhill after that sort of thing as well. So it's a real problem. Do we like to hear? Sometimes we like the tittle tattle. It's something to talk about. We're talking about it now, but at the end of the day, what we want is for all the band members just to get on and play the music, because when they're getting on together, they're creative, and they're on the game, and that's what we want to hear. And at the end of the day, we just want to hear the music. We don't want anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think with a lot of these books, for example, I've read the Ace Frehley book, the Peter Criss book, the Paul Stanley book, and by that time I have a few Gene Simmons books. But I just, after reading 3 or 4 members just complain and crap on each other, and it just makes you think, how have I loved these guys all these years, as musicians, because they seem like pretty shitty people. You read The Dirt by Motley Crue, and I'm thinking, these guys are a bunch of scumbags. It's, instead of thinking, oh, how cool this is or how cool that is, I'm thinking, wow, they've done a lot of shitty things to a lot of shitty people. And then when you find out more stories behind the scenes, Bob Nalbandian would tell me all these stories about Motley Crue and about how a lot of their stuff was just made up. Like, the people that really knew them back in the day, outside of Brad and his friend that dumped soda on Tommy Lee's head, call them the comic book band, because a lot of the shit that they did was all made up in the press to kind of further their image, when they were saying that most of the stuff that you were reading wasn't true. I'll always go back to John Bush telling me when I asked him about the story in the dirt about Joey Vera and the story about Phil Sandoval in Dave Mustaine's book, where he said, yeah, those are interesting takes on those stories, but it isn't exactly what happened. So the Tommy Lee version of the Joey Vera story goes as far as to say that they were on a motorcycle when they were in a car when that happened. So, just nuttiness. But anyway, Anthony Espin is saying, I don't know if it's true, but I read Sean's son is married to Kane's daughter.
I'll take that.
Okay, Brad.
It's actually Steve Lukather's son who just married John Kane's daughter. That was like a month or so ago. His name's Trev Lukather. So
okay.
So there you go. Yeah. Neil Sean, I don't know. He's got to have kids, doesn't he? He's had a few wives.
I would assume a few different hairstyles, a few wives, bunch of guitars,
Yeah.
One would think so.
Yeah, you kind of wonder about these guys. Like Neil Sean, he seems like a decent dude. He's a fantastic guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's had a lot of projects, and not a lot of people want to go running back to him. It makes you wonder when bands can't keep people together. It just makes it look like there's some kind of problem.
And even within Journey, how many members has Journey had over the years?
Well, they got like 10 people on stage right now. It's kind of like Santana.
Well, which is where he came from, which is where Greg Raleigh came from, and exactly. the original Journey was essentially all the guys that were in Santana's band that I guess weren't getting paid or whatever and wanted to form their own band. So
yeah, that's true. Except for the bass player, I don't think he was in Santana. Well, of course, the drummer Ainsley Dunbar wasn't in Santana, but yeah, Neil Sean and Greg Raleigh both came from Santana, and they were the bulk of Journey.
I think there was a third guy though that was in Santana. I could be wrong. I'm not a big Journey or Santana fan. Anthony, we're still seeing you in black.
Can we hear Anthony? Anthony, can you say something? No? I guess not. Oh, bummer. As I say, at least we could get Anthony's input here. But
Back in Black. There you go. Or Spinal Tap. Yeah. Can't hear anything. Yeah, these recent events with Restream make me scratch my head as to why I re-upped with them. But anyway. Yeah. Anthony, no problem. So many members, so many intertwined things.
No, it's good to see Anthony here. So absolutely. You need to jump. You need to get on the screen here, Anthony, and let's hear you.
I've been trying to encourage him.
You can do it, man. You can do it. We'd love to meet you.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so there was another thing that took place this week. I saw the clip and instantly got pissed off. Because it's easy to get me all fired up. But,
are you kidding?
I'm being sarcastic. The Graham Norton show in the UK, where Margot Robbie, who is spoken about over the years about being a big fan of Metallica and Slipknot and metal music in general, Cate Blanchett came out and had some very condescending remarks towards her when she said this. Say, well, do you like monster truck rallies and stuff like that as well? And Margot Robbie doubled down and said, no, I really still like this kind of music. I still go to concerts. So, why is there still a stigma with people when it comes to this form of music? I don't see people ever say, "Oh no, listening to hip hop or rap, that's just a phase. Listening to classical music, that's just a phase. Listening to pop music is just a phase." But for whatever reason, various types of hard rock or metal music, various types of rock-based music, oh no, that's just a phase. Why is it that this music that we love, people think that it's just a phase? I don't get that. To me, outside of that, the condescending remark that she made is kind of like saying, "Oh no, well, you being in a Thor movie was shit because it was all CGI." While I enjoy that movie and enjoy those types of movies, to me, it's just as ignorant as someone who will just push aside any style of entertainment just because they don't appreciate it. I have no issue with people preferring to see the piano instead of a Marvel movie, but I won't sit through a 3-hour drama. I'd prefer to be entertained, me personally. So it's kind of the same with metal. You like it? Okay, great. You don't? All right, then move on. Don't shit on it. That's my opinion. You like what you like, and that's it. Jeremy, did you see this? Did you see the comments online, or do you ever follow this show to happen to actually see it?
I have seen the show in the past, but I hadn't actually seen this particular episode, so I've not been aware of it. In answer to your question, why that might happen, I think that from an outsider's point of view, heavy metal and hard rock is seen as quite extreme by the sort of the mainstream. I think it's seen as sometimes anti-religious, which it isn't. I think it's seen as almost devil worshipping people, which we know we're not. But I'm talking of it from people who are outside the genre and looking in. I think people see it as people who like fighting, they're just rebels, people who grow their hair long, people who are not to be encouraged in life, and that's why I'm just sort of saying it as I think I understand it from their point of view, and that they don't really understand it from our point of view, and how important it is, and how interesting it is, and how the people who are involved in it are interesting, and all that sort of aspect. So I think they find difficulty with it. That's probably all I have to say on it, really. I think they're wrong, obviously, because we all think that. But I can see it from their point of view, and I also think there's a little bit of jokiness to the music that we like. I mean, they sort of understand bands like The Darkness, who take the piss out of the music that we like. So whatever you think of The Darkness, I quite enjoy them, really, but I think that they also they take the piss out of what we like. They parody what we like, and I think that a lot of people from outside think that what we like is a bit of a joke.
Okay. Johan, living in a country that celebrates metal music, has it on the radio, has plenty of festivals, so on and so forth. Are there people in Sweden with this type of mentality that they look down on people that like metal music?
No, I don't think so. I saw that headline that you are referring to, but no, Sweden is not a very religious country, speaking of that term, and I mean, hard rock and metal is, I mean, no, it's not it's not the thing. You can't make a headline in Sweden about anything about hard rock and metal these days. It's common music, but that was a good headline for our kind of music because it's made something. We talk about it here.
Right.
No, sorry to say, nothing. Heavy metal is, if you make a satanic thing in Sweden, it's nothing because people don't care. It's not a religious country at all. So that's how it is nowadays. It was a big difference in the 80s when Wasp came here and made their show. That was a big thing. And I mean, that was.
Can you tell us about that? What happened when Wasp came there?
Oh, when Wasp came here, they had this show, when they had this girl on stage. And back then, Swedish television, we only had 2 channels. So it was state television. And it was a, enormously big thing about Wasp. Because they came here and they had this show. And it was on the Swedish national television. How can we have Wasp here? And of course, they sold very much records here because of that. So that's a classic in Swedish television. They still show that thing nowadays, and we have it on. We laugh about it. So no, it's heavy metal, hard rock is a part of Sweden and Swedish tradition nowadays. So yeah, it can't happen here again. Yeah.
Brad, your opinion on this?
Here's what I think is worse: people who wear a Metallica T-shirt, an AC/DC T-shirt, and they don't own one of the albums. That's worse. Okay, I'm 100% with you, Victor. It's like, you like what you like. I don't think less of somebody because of what they enjoy music-wise or food. To me, music's like food. If you like something, you like something. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Although, I'll mock some people for not liking something I think is pretty awesome. It's all good natured.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess the good thing is, like Johan said, the headline, it brought our music into the headlines. That's a good thing. Anything that'll get metal attention is a good thing. So
yeah, there were a lot of people that jumped on Cate Blanchett on social media saying how condescending she is and how what a dumb way of looking at things. Doesn't she realize that a lot of smart people over the years have professed to loving this kind of music, that it doesn't equate to the only people that like metal music are dumb people type of a thing.
Well, I do have to say this, in that kind of gives a little bit of the image of that. Back in the old days when I used to listen to Eddie Trunk, his early XM days, every time he'd have a caller call in, it sounded like just a total and complete dumbass. I mean, they would just ask the stupidest things, make the stupidest comments. And of course, it drove Eddie insane. And I kept thinking, these are the people who like this music, listen to this show. They're embarrassing us. They really are. I don't think they're representative of us. And when I say us, everybody, and everybody on this screen right now.
I will say this: a lot of those call-ins on any radio station in the US, a lot of them are setups. They're people they're interns in the back room that are being told to call up and say specific shit. So it's possible that was somebody that was geared to call up and say that and get him all riled up. So
yeah, I think back then he couldn't afford. Well, he had an intern, but it was pretty light duty on that show. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to challenge all of you metal fans out there. Don't make us look bad.
There you go. Be smart about things.
Let's all show people that actually metal attracts the smartest people on this planet.
There you go. Cool. We have Anthony trying to get back in as we're about to close things up here.
I'd love to hear from Anthony.
His mic and his camera isn't working, but we'll try next time with him. I do want to thank Jeremy, Johan, and Brad for chiming in tonight. It is always fun to talk to you guys. I mentioned this on the latest podcast episode. It's always a highlight of the week when we hook up and we talk some music here. We talk some metal, as some would say. Thank you, Jeremy, for submitting a bunch of great topics to talk about. And again, thank you, Johan and Brad, for joining us and talking about these great topics. So on that note, we are going to be wrapping the show up. Thank you to Rob Rowe, Tony Espin, Bill Elam, who all joined us in the chat. If you do want to join us on stage per se and talk about these great topics, just join us on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $2 a month. Patreon.com/Signals from Mars. If not, go to signalsfrommars.com. Go to the follow tab at the top and just find the various social media platforms where you can follow and like us, where you can help spread the word, where you can follow the podcast, live stream, so on and so forth. On that note, once again, we bring the show to a close. And as I like to say, there's a million other things you could listen to, and it means a lot that you're here watching or listening to this show. With that, finally, thank you for being here on Signals from Mars. We'll see you next time, folks. See ya.
Thank you for watching the Signals from Mars live stream. You can watch the show live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, or check out replays on YouTube. Go to signalsfrommars.com for more information. This concludes our show.